The screams behind the wall. The desert wind was dry and hot. Sand flew in the air like tiny knives. The human man named Ron walked slowly, covering his face with a cloth. He had been traveling this alien land for days. He was tired, thirsty, and just wanted a place to rest. Then he heard something. It was faint at first. A sound carried by the wind. A voice. A scream. He stopped walking. Another scream. Weak, like someone was in pain. Not an animal. A person. He looked around. Nothing but cracked ground and a few stone buildings far ahead. He moved toward the sound, heart beating fast. As he got closer, the screams became clearer. They were coming from behind a wall. The wall was tall, built with red alien stone. Sharp bones were placed on top like decorations. Strange symbols were carved into the surface. The scream came again, long, sad, full of pain. Ron slowly walked around the wall. On the other side, he froze. A woman was chained there. An alien woman. Her skin was pale blue, bruised in many places. Long dark hair covered part of her face. Her arms were stretched above her head, tied with metal cuffs to thick chains in the wall. Blood had dried around her wrists. Stones were scattered near her feet. Some had hit her. Some were still being thrown. A small group of aliens stood nearby, watching, laughing, throwing rocks. "She deserves it," one said when Ron came closer. "What did she do?" Ron asked. "She broke the law," another spat. "Let her rot." The woman didn't move when Ron called out to her. Only her head turned a little. One eye opened weakly. Ron stepped closer, but someone blocked his path. "Don't get involved, human," the alien guard warned. "She is cursed, touched by death. If you help her, you will share her fate." Ron looked at the woman again. She didn't look dangerous. She looked broken, dying. But in her eye, he saw something. A silent plea. A scream louder than the ones from her mouth. "Help me." Ron left the wall. He walked to the village nearby, just a few stone huts in the sand. The aliens there looked at him strangely. "Why is that woman chained?" he asked a merchant. "She is no woman. She is a traitor," the merchant said without emotion. "What was her crime?" "She healed someone she should not have touched." Another villager added, "She helped a human child years ago. Our elders punished her. She was warned, but she did it again." "She's a healer?" "She was. Now she is nothing." Ron asked many people. Some said she used to be a great healer, a gentle soul. Others said she was a liar who brought shame to the village, but no one gave a clear answer. Only hate. Ron returned to the wall at nightfall. The crowd had left. The village was quiet. The sky was purple and the two moons hung heavy. The woman was still chained, still breathing but barely. Ron stepped close. This time no one stopped him. He held out a small water pouch. She looked at it, then at him. "I am not worth saving," she whispered. "I'll decide that myself," Ron said gently. He raised the pouch to her lips. She drank, trembling. Her eyes filled with tears. "What is your name?" he asked. Her lips moved slowly. "Lyra." Suddenly she shivered. Her head dropped. She passed out. Ron stood there, fists tight, heart heavy. He knew what he had to do, but saving her wouldn't be easy. This place hated her. Even her kindness had been turned into a crime. He looked at the chains, then up at the stars. "I don't know what you did, Lyra," he said softly, "but I'm going to find out and I'm going to help you." The village that hated her, the sun rose slowly, painting the sand gold. The village near the punishment wall began to wake. Small alien children chased each other between the clay houses. Merchants opened their stalls. The world kept moving, like a woman wasn't dying behind the wall. Ron didn't sleep. He had stayed hidden near the wall all night watching Lyra. She didn't move. She was too weak. But she was alive. He had questions now. Too many. Who was she really? Why would a healer be chained like a criminal? And why did everyone look at her like she was worse than a beast? Ron stepped into the village square with firm steps. The villagers noticed him. They stopped talking, stopped smiling. The air became cold. He walked up to the market stall where he had asked questions the day before. "I want answers," Ron said. "You say she broke the law. Which law? What did she really do?" The old merchant didn't look at him. "She touched what was forbidden." Ron frowned. "You mean a human?" A younger alien nearby spat in the dust. "She broke the blood code." "What is that?" Ron asked. "It is the old rule," the merchant said. "A healer must never touch the cursed races. That includes humans. If she saves one, she takes on their sin." "That's insane," Ron said. "She tried to save a life. How is that a sin?" The merchant's eyes burned. "That child she saved, he was not meant to live. He was from the stars, not of our blood. When she healed him, our crops failed that year. The rivers dried. People died. And they blamed her." Ron shook his head in disbelief. "So, this is about superstition?" "Truth," the merchant said sharply. "To us it is truth." Ron moved on, knocking at other doors. One woman spoke in whispers. "Lyra was once loved. She healed many, but after she saved the human boy, they said her hands were dirty. She stopped being invited to council. Then someone accused her of saving another human. No proof, just hate." Ron asked a child playing with stones, "Do you know the woman behind the wall?" The child nodded. "She gave me sweets once when I was sick. Mama said not to talk to her, but she was kind. I think she used to smile a lot and before they broke her teeth." Those words stung like ice. Ron felt something burning in his chest. Anger. This village had punished someone for being kind. That evening, Ron stood outside the temple on the hill. It was the only stone building that looked clean and new. A place for the elders. He demanded to see them. A group of 5 old aliens sat inside. Eyes cold, faces still. "Why are you here, outsider?" one asked. "I want to know the truth about Lyra," Ron said. "She is a danger to our kind. She's chained and dying. She made her choice. Now she pays." Ron clenched his fists. "She chose to save a child. That's not a crime. To us it is. A healer's touch carries power. If given to the wrong blood, it can curse the land." "Or maybe," Ron said, stepping closer, "you just needed someone to blame." No one answered. He turned to leave. A voice stopped him. "She helped you, didn't she?" an elder said softly. "That's why you care. But you are too late. Her fate was sealed the moment she touched that dying boy." Ron said nothing, but in his heart something changed. He was no longer just curious. He was furious. As night fell again, Ron stood outside the punishment wall once more. The village lights dimmed behind him. Lyra hung still, her chains silent, her breath shallow. Ron touched the cold metal near her wrists. "I found your truth," he whispered. "They're scared of what you are, not what you did." He took a deep breath. "I swear to you, I'm getting you out of here. I don't care if I have to carry you through fire." And for the first time since he arrived, Lyra opened her eyes and blinked. One tear slipped down her cheek. She believed him. Chained under the red moon, the night sky turned dark red. The second moon had risen. It was called the blood moon by the locals. In the old stories, it was said that the blood moon punished liars and burned the souls of the cursed. Tonight, it burned above Lyra. Ron stood behind the punishment wall again. He had waited all day, pretending to leave the village. But he never went far. He couldn't. The image of Lyra, chained, broken, and silent, haunted him. He had to do something. But how do you free someone when everyone wants her dead? Ron carried a small toolkit in his satchel. He didn't have weapons, but he had tools, and a little courage. He checked both ends of the alley. Quiet. Then he stepped to the wall and touched Lyra's wrist gently. She flinched. Her skin was ice cold. "It's me," Ron whispered. Her eyes opened slowly. They were clouded with pain. But she remembered him. "You came back," she breathed. "I told you I would. No one ever comes back." Ron didn't answer. He pulled out a metal cutter and started working on the rusted chain lock. Sparks flew softly. Lyra gasped when the sharp sound echoed, but Ron covered her mouth gently. "Shh, just trust me." She nodded weakly. Minutes passed. Sweat rolled down his back. His hands trembled as the cutter hit the inner bolt. Clink. The first chain dropped. Lyra collapsed forward, but Ron caught her in his arms. Her body was thin, fragile. She had lost too much blood. "Just one more," he whispered. He worked faster. The second cuff was tougher. He bit his lip, pressing harder. Clang. Done. He held her as both her arms fell limp. She could not walk. She could barely keep her eyes open, but she was free. Ron looked around. Still no one. He picked her up, carefully like holding something sacred, and moved into the shadows. The sandstorm started without warning. Wind roared like a wild animal. Sand whipped their faces. Ron kept moving, shielding Lyra with his body. They needed to hide. Fast. Then lightning flashed in the distance, shouts, lights. Someone had noticed. "They're looking for us," Ron said. Lyra's voice was weak. "They will kill you for that." He held her tighter. "Then they'll have to catch me first." They reached a dry riverbed and stumbled into a crack between two large rocks. The space was narrow but hidden. Ron placed Lyra gently on the ground. She coughed. Her lips were blue. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her. She looked up at him, blinking through pain. "Why would a human help me?" Ron didn't speak right away. The wind howled outside the rocks. Then he said, "Because no one else did." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "I used to believe in kindness," she whispered, "but they burned it out of me." "They didn't burn it," Ron said. "They were scared of it." She closed her eyes. He sat beside her, shielding her from the cold wind. Then she spoke again, her voice barely a breath. "I saved a human child. Years ago. He was dying. I used my gift. But my people said I cursed the land. The crops failed. And they blamed me." Ron frowned. "So they chained you for that?" "No. That was the first time. They warned me. I stayed quiet for years. But then I saw another one. A boy. Lost. Bleeding. I couldn't walk away again. And now, you're here." She nodded slowly. "I don't regret saving him," she whispered. "I regret not running sooner." Ron looked at her pale face. "You're running now. And you're not alone." Outside, the storm raged on. The blood moon shone down. In the old stories, the blood moon revealed true hearts. That night, it revealed a human who refused to turn away, and an alien woman who, even in chains, had more honor than her whole village. Escape in the storm. The storm had grown wild. Sand hit like needles. Thunder cracked across the sky. The wind screamed louder than the villagers ever had. Nature itself was angry. Ron held Lyra close inside the narrow cave of rocks. Her body was freezing. Her breathing was slow. Every few minutes, she mumbled something. In her sleep, half words, half pain. He had to move her. They couldn't stay here. If the storm didn't bury them, the villagers would find them when it cleared. But she was too weak to walk, too weak to stand. Ron knew what he had to do. He wrapped her carefully in his coat, lifting her in his arms. She was so light, it scared him. It felt like carrying a dying bird. He stumbled out into the storm, head low, pushing against the wind. Sand stung his face, cutting his skin. But he kept going. He remembered seeing something earlier, a broken transport hover cart left near the canyon edge. If it still worked, step by step, he moved through the dust. Lyra shivered against his chest. He whispered to her even though she couldn't hear. "You're not going to die, not like that, not in chains, not forgotten." After what felt like hours, he found the hover cart. It was old, beaten, covered in dust, but it was still here. He placed Lyra gently in the back, wrapping her in a torn blanket. Then he climbed into the driver's seat. The dashboard blinked faintly. Power cells drained, but not dead. He slammed his palm on the start switch. Vroom, cough, vroom. The engine came to life, barely. "Come on, girl," he muttered. "Just take me far enough." He pushed the throttle. The hovercart shook, then floated above the ground, wobbling like a wounded bird. But it moved. They were escaping. The storm followed them like a monster. Dust clouds swallowed the road. Lightning lit the sky like war. Ron could barely see 2 feet ahead, but he didn't stop. His hands gripped the wheel tight. His eyes kept darting to the rear view. And then he saw them. 4 bikes, glow lights, chasers. The villagers had found them. Ron turned the cart toward the canyon road. It was dangerous, narrow and cracked, but he had no choice. Lyra moaned from the back. He looked over his shoulder. Her lips were pale. Her hands curled like claws. "Just hang on," he whispered. The bikes gained on them fast. They fired stun blasts, bright blue lines flashing past. One hit the cart. Boom! The engine screamed. Ron swerved. The cart bounced hard. Sparks flew. A wheel. Lift failed. The hover was dragging now. One more blast and the hover tipped. Crash. The cart rolled. Ron's head slammed against the wheel. Metal screamed. Dust exploded around them. Then silence. When he opened his eyes, everything hurt. The cart was on its side. The chasers were getting closer. He pulled himself up, bleeding from the head, and crawled to the back. Lyra was still breathing. He picked her up again, one arm hanging limp, and ran toward the canyon rocks. No hover, no help, no hope. Just footsteps behind him growing louder. Then, a crack in the rocks. A hole. He dove into it, dragging Lyra inside. It led down into darkness. An old mine, a cave. He didn't know, but he didn't stop until the footsteps were gone. He collapsed inside the cool stone chamber. Lyra lay beside him, her head resting against his arm. For a moment, there was no storm, no chains, no shouting, just breath. Just the sound of life. Ron looked up at the ceiling. It was cracked, full of old carvings, symbols he didn't know. But in that moment, under the stone and silence, he felt something. This wasn't just escape. This was the beginning of something bigger, something ancient. And Lyra, she wasn't just a victim. She was part of a story too old to forget. The hidden temple below the rocks. Ron opened his eyes to silence. Cold, deep silence. He blinked, trying to remember where he was. His head ached. His clothes were torn. But the storm was gone. And Lyra was still alive. She lay beside him in the dim light, breathing slowly. Her chains were gone, but her skin still carried the marks. Purple bruises. Cuts that hadn't healed. Yet there was peace on her face now, like something had changed. Ron looked around. They were in a large underground chamber, hidden deep inside the canyon rocks. The air smelled of dust and age. Strange symbols covered the walls, faint glowing lines of silver ink that pulsed gently like veins under skin. The place didn't feel like a cave. It felt sacred, like it had been waiting. He stood up, helping Lyra sit with her back against the wall. Her eyes fluttered open. She blinked, dazed. "Where are we?" she whispered. "I think we found something old," Ron said. "Something your people forgot." Lyra looked around, her eyes slowly widening. She touched the wall with shaking fingers. "This is a temple," she said, voice trembling. "One of the first, the ones built before the laws, before the hate." Ron frowned. You know this place? I've only seen drawings. In healer books. They said the first healers built places like this to protect all life, human or alien. Back when kindness wasn't a crime. She touched. A carving on the wall. A figure stood there, tall, graceful, arms open. Around it were children of many species. Human, alien, winged, scaled. They called her the life giver, Lyra whispered. She healed without fear, without borders. Ron stared at the carving. That's what you were doing, wasn't it? Following her path? I tried, Lyra said. But the world changed. They twisted the stories. Said we must only heal our own, or die. Ron helped her to her feet. She leaned on him, weak but steady. They walked deeper into the temple. In the center of the chamber stood a stone table, round and wide, with glowing lines leading out from it in every direction. Like a sun. Lyra touched the table. It lit up under her hand. She gasped. I know this, she whispered. It's a memory altar. The old ones stored truth here. Memories. Voices. Suddenly the air shimmered. A projection appeared. An image made of light. A woman, alien but beautiful, stood tall in white robes. Her voice filled the chamber. Let no healer be punished for mercy. Let no child die because of bloodlines. Let no law chain the heart. Then the light faded. Lyra stood frozen, her eyes wide with tears. They destroyed these temples, she said softly. They didn't want people to remember what real healing meant. Ron stepped beside her. Then we remind them. Outside, the storm had passed. But the danger hadn't. Ron knew the villagers were still searching. They would not stop. But now, something had changed. He had proof, this place, this truth, and more than that, he had Lyra. He looked at her, bruised but standing tall under the sacred carvings. She wasn't just a prisoner who had been saved, she was a healer, a symbol, a spark that could burn down lies. As they left the temple, Ron found a strange sense of calm. The journey ahead would be hard, but now he knew why it mattered, and he wasn't afraid anymore. The return of the boy. The sun returned, washing the desert in soft gold. The storm was gone, but the world felt different. Ron and Lyra had climbed out of the hidden temple just before dawn, their hearts heavy, but filled with something new. Hope. They moved slowly through the rocks. Lyra was still weak, but she could walk now. Every step she took was painful, but she refused to fall. Ron stayed close, watching her like a guard watches treasure. We can't go back to the village, he said. No, she replied softly. They'll kill you too now. Then where do we go? Lyra looked toward the horizon. There's a signal beacon not far, she said. If we reach it, someone might come. Someone you trust? She paused. I don't know. But we don't have a choice. They walked all morning, resting often. At noon, Ron saw something in the sky. A ship. It came fast, sleek, black, humming low. Not like the villagers' old cargo crafts. Lyra froze. That's not one of theirs. The ship hovered, scanning the area. Then it lowered its ramp. A figure stepped out, tall. Dark hair, a long coat blowing in the wind. Human. Ron tensed, stepping in front of Lyra. But the man did not raise a weapon. Instead, he ran forward, straight to Lyra. She stared in shock. He dropped to his knees before her. Lyra? His voice cracked. Is it really you? She blinked, confused. Then her lips trembled. Kaelin? The man looked up. His eyes were wet. I've searched for you for years. Ron watched in silence as Kaelin, now clearly a grown man, held Lyra's hands like they were made of glass. You saved my life, he said. They told me you were dead. They tried, she whispered. They tried to erase everything. I never forgot you, Kaelin said. Never. You gave me life when they wanted me to die. He turned to Ron. You brought her back. You saved her too. Ron shook his head. No, she saved herself. I just didn't walk away. Kalen stood. Come with me, both of you. My ship has a med bay, food, warmth. You'll be safe. Lyra looked at Ron, unsure. He nodded. Let's go. Inside the ship, everything was clean and bright. Lyra lay in a warm pod, finally resting. Machines healed her broken bones, cleaned her blood, and stitched her wounds. Ron stood nearby, watching quietly. Kalen returned and handed him a drink. She's more than just a healer, Ron said. I know, Kalen replied. She's a symbol. Ron raised an eyebrow. Kalen sat down. When she saved me, it changed something. My family tried to hide it, but I couldn't. I joined the Human Diplomatic Corps to stop things like this. When I heard rumors of a healer being chained for helping a child, I knew it was her. You're a diplomat now? Ron asked. Kalen nodded. With real power. He looked back at Lyra, eyes burning. They thought they could erase her story, but now, we'll tell the galaxy the truth. Later that night, when Lyra opened her eyes again, she was safe. Warm. Free. She turned her head and saw Ron sitting beside her, eyes tired but kind. You didn't leave, she whispered. I never planned to. In the stars above, the ship flew toward a place Lyra never thought she'd see again. Justice. And behind them, in that hateful village, the sky would soon carry a message. The woman you tried to destroy has risen, and the child you cursed has returned, stronger than you ever imagined. The chains break. The village slept peacefully. They had no idea what was coming. A shadow passed over the rooftops as the sleek human ship arrived. Quiet, slow, and full of light. It landed just outside the village square, exactly where Lyra had once been chained like an animal. But this time she didn't come in chains. She came standing tall. Lyra stepped down the ship's ramp wearing white robes, robes of a healer, glowing faintly in the morning sun. Her face was calm. Her wounds had healed. Her eyes burned not with hate but with truth. Ron walked beside her, and just behind them came the boy she had saved years ago, no longer a child, but a leader, a human diplomat with authority that even this stubborn village couldn't ignore. Kalen. The village elders gathered quickly, their faces pale. Their guards raised weapons, but Kalen only lifted a hand. Put them down, he said. You're not in control anymore. A low, buzzing silence followed. No one moved. Then Lyra stepped forward. I was punished for mercy, she said, her voice steady and strong. You chained me for healing, you called it sin. The crowd watched. Some looked away. Others stared, ashamed. I have seen the truth, Lyra continued. In the hidden temple, where the first healers once stood, I saw what you buried. Our true purpose. She lifted her hand and a small projection lit up above her palm, an image of the ancient temple walls, the life giver, the memory altar, the words spoken by the ancestors. Let no healer be punished for mercy. Let no law chain the heart. The villagers gasped. Even the elders looked shaken. That truth, Kalen said, stepping forward, will now be known across the galaxy. You tried to hide her, to break her, but she is the proof that your laws are broken. One elder stepped forward, face trembling. What do you want from us? Lyra looked at him for a long moment. I want no revenge, she said. No pain. She reached into her robe and held up the two broken chains from her wrists. I want you to remember. She dropped them to the ground. Clang. The sound echoed through the village like thunder. Lyra turned and walked away. No more begging, no more silence. Just freedom. As the ship lifted into the sky, Ron sat beside her, watching the village grow smaller. You could have destroyed them, he said. I could have, she agreed. But you chose peace. I chose healing, she said. That's still who I am. He looked at her, smiling. So, what now? She took a breath. Now I go where I'm needed. There are more voices out there. Still chained, still forgotten. And you? She smiled faintly. Still a healer. In the ship's museum room, the chains were placed behind glass, not to remember her pain, but to remember her strength. Beneath them, a single line was engraved. She broke no law. She broke their silence. The galaxy would soon know her name, and the story of the human who refused to turn away. Together, they had done something powerful. They had broken the oldest chains of all, fear and silence. The end.